In 1966, two researchers convinced homemakers to let a team of strangers go through every cupboard in their house with one phone call. Only 22% said yes when asked cold, but one tiny trick more than doubled that number, and it still works today. Welcome to the Mind Glitch TV. Today we're pulling apart the psychology of dark manipulation tactics so you can see them coming. The trick was called foot in the door. Ask for something small first. Days later, the big request feels like something you already agreed to. Friedman and Fraser found agreement jumped from 22% to 53% when a small survey came first. Your consistency was weaponized. That's the uncomfortable heart of dark psychology. It doesn't break your thinking. It borrows the rules your brain already follows. Manipulation research keeps circling three traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Psychologists call this the dark triad, and it hides in plain sight. But the tactics themselves don't need a dark personality. They're techniques, learnable, repeatable, and running right now in ordinary conversation. And the most powerful one has a name almost nobody knows, a tactic that works even while you watch it happen. But start with the tactic you have heard of, because almost everyone uses the word wrong, and the original was worse. In 1938, playwright Patrick Hamilton wrote a thriller called Gaslight. Hollywood filmed it in 1944 with Ingrid Bergman. In the story, a husband dims the gas lamps in the house, night after night. His wife notices the rooms getting darker. Each time she says so, he tells her nothing has changed. She must be imagining it. She's tired. She's confused. Slowly, she stops trusting her own eyes. The lamps really were dimming. Her perception was fine. Her reality had an editor. Psychologists later took the film's name for that exact move: gaslighting. Deny what someone saw until they doubt the seeing itself. A study of 65 people who lived through it found something strange. The gaslighting almost always arrived wrapped inside loving behavior. Kindness and distortion, braided together, that's what made it invisible. Afterward, people reported a shrunken self and deep mistrust. Because the target isn't your opinions, it's the instrument you'd use to check them: your own memory, your own perception. I understand this one from the inside. A few years ago, someone ran a version of this playbook on me. He arrived like good luck, a new mentor in my field, generous, warm, endlessly interested in everything I was building. Researchers have a name for that opening move: love bombing. Excessive attention and praise front-loaded to gain influence over someone fast. Compliments in front of colleagues. Doors opened. Favors I never asked for. Within weeks, I felt I owed him everything. That debt feeling isn't an accident. It's reciprocity, one of the 6 influence levers Robert Cialdini documented, turned into a hook. Then, without warning, the warmth switched off. Messages unanswered for days. Cold, clipped replies. I reread everything, hunting for my mistake. Then, just as suddenly, the sun came back out. Praise again, warmth again. Relief flooded in, and that relief was the trap. Behavioral science calls it intermittent reinforcement. Unpredictable reward bonds you harder than constant reward ever could. It's the engine inside slot machine. A machine that paid out every time would bore you. One that might pay out owns you. I was pulling the lever. The goalposts moved too. Every standard I met quietly became the new minimum. Yesterday's impressive was today's expected. I ran faster. When I finally described it to a friend, she asked one question that broke the spell. What exactly do you owe him? I couldn't answer. The debt existed only inside the frame he'd built. Outside it, there was just a man dimming lamps. Bane. If you're thinking you would have seen through him sooner, hold that thought. I took a camera into the street. I asked strangers one question: could you be manipulated? Nearly everyone gave me the same answer: no, they'd notice immediately. An older gentleman laughed at the question. A student with headphones said manipulation only works on, quote, emotional people. Confidence everywhere. Then I asked them to name 3 manipulation tactics. Most managed one: lying. The toolkit they were sure they'd spot was blank. So let's fill it in. Negging, an insult folded inside a compliment, engineered to make you chase approval you shouldn't need. Triangulation, pulling a third person into your conflict to create jealousy or competition. Paltering, telling only true things, arranged to deceive. One woman pushed back. Surely manipulators are rare. Broken people who can't feel anything. The research says something far more unsettling. In 2021, researchers screened 991 people and empathic, then classic dark triad profile. 175 could genuinely feel your emotions and were still willing to use them as handles. Empathy isn't armor. And targeting isn't random. A 2017 finding, people with anxious attachment styles get love bombed more. Sensitivity becomes a doorway. But every tactic so far shares one weakness. It dies in daylight, except one, the one built to survive being caught. Psychologist Jennifer Freyd gave it a name, DARVO. Deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. Watch what happens when someone gets confronted. 1. Deny. That never happened. Step 2. Attack. How dare you accuse me? Step 3 is the dark masterpiece. Reverse, victim, and offender. The accused becomes the wounded party. The person raising the alarm becomes the aggressor. Reality? Flip. In 2020, Sarah Harsey and Freyd tested it on 316 students. Participants read accounts of a confrontation. When the perpetrator used DARVO, observers rated the real victim as less believable, more responsible for the harm, even more abusive. Read that again. The tactic didn't just protect the offender, it transferred the blame in the minds of neutral bystanders. And the observers weren't foolish or gullible. They were ordinary people, reacting exactly the way the tactic predicts. That's what makes it dangerous. This is why victims so often go quiet. Speaking up doesn't just risk being doubted, it risks becoming the accused. Remember the opening promise? A tactic that works even while you watch it. This is it. Watching, it turns out, isn't enough. But buried in that same 2020 experiment was a second group, and something about them made the tactic misfire. Before reading the confrontation, this group got one thing the others didn't: a short lesson explaining exactly how DARVO worked. That was the whole intervention. And it worked. Educated participants rated the DARVO using perpetrator as less believable than the control group did. Sit with how strange that is. The tactic's power didn't survive its own name. Labeling the trick partially disarmed it. Which means this video wasn't really a tour of dark tactics. It was a vaccination schedule. You've been inoculated 9 times. So here's what to notice today. The moment you feel rushed, indebted, confused, or suddenly on trial, stop and name the move. Is this guilt real or installed? Did the goalposts move? Am I being flipped from accuser to accused? Naming is defense. Manipulation runs on machinery you can't remove, but it hides in the dark, and you just turn the lamps back up. If naming these tactics made them weaker, like this video, share it with someone who needs it. Comment the tactic you've seen, and subscribe. Thanks for watching the Mind Glitch TV. Next week, what happens when your therapist is an algorithm? Until then, trust your eye.